I want to finish this really quick, so let's continue. So at number 14 we have The Corpse Bride. The Corpse Bride is a claymation film I have not seen, and I wanted to see it. It's considered an underrated Halloween classic, so I'll check it out later. So at number 13 we have The Omen, and The Omen is about a kid who's the Antichrist, which he is the devil's son, and bad things happen to people when he's around, and some people have committed suicide because of him, and the film has a very eerie aspect, so which I think fits for Halloween, and so I say go check it out. At number 12 we have the Haunting, and not to be confused with the shitty remake from 1999 that stars Liam Neeson and Catherine Zeta-Jones, but I'm talking about the original 1963 directed by Robert Wise. It's about a group of 4 people who they go to the haunted house, and it's been and a lot of supernatural activities happen when they're in there, and the film has this really eerie ending where Eleanor dies at the end, and the whole film is great. It's considered one of the first haunted house films ever made, and I think it fits for Halloween, something like that. So at number 11 we have Paranorman. Paranorman is an underrated claymation Halloween film that I have watched before, and not many people talk about it, but they really should. It's about a boy who has the ability to see dead people as spirits. Yeah, that's been a trope ever since The Sixth Sense, but I didn't mind it much. It's a good film, you should see it. At number 10 we have Young Frankenstein, and this is one of Mel Brooks' greatest films that he has ever made, and Young Frankenstein is a satire of all Frankenstein trilogy, the original Frankenstein trilogy from the 30s, and it's a complete parody of all of them. So it's a complete parody of all the first 3. So, and it stars Gene Wilder as Dr. Frankenstein, and Marty Feldman as the bulging the guy with the derpy guy with the bulging eyes is that guy Marty Feldman as Igor, and it's a hilarious film. I've seen it twice, and it was really good. You should see it. It's a perfect movie to watch on Halloween. So at number 9 we have Zombieland, and Zombieland is a zombie comedy film that stars Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson and Emma Stone and the other girl I can't remember her name, and Bill Murray, who he plays himself in this movie. Not for long, but it's a one big. I've seen this movie when I was a kid, and it kind of freaked me out a bit, but most of the film was just silly. So I recommend this. It's a good film. It's a unique film to see this on Halloween. At number 8 we have Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Now, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is one of my favorite comedy films ever, and one of my favorite crossover films ever. And this is one of my favorite movies of all time by 2 comedians, by the comedy duo. So Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is about 2 bumbling idiots who they encounter, not just Frankenstein, but the Dracula and the Wolfman, who are played by the original actors themselves, Bela Lugosi as Dracula and Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman, except Frankenstein, who's not played by Boris Karloff, but he's played by Glenn Strange, who does a decent job at playing the monster, but Boris doesn't want to play the monster anymore. Overall, it's a good movie. I've seen it like 4 times, and it was hilarious as hell, and I loved it. So I originally want to put this on number 1. So, but I have a big one I covered up for it. So at number 7 we have Shaun of the Dead. Now, Shaun of the Dead is is another zombie comedy film that stars Simon Pegg and and it's a British film that is a complete satire of like a zombie movies or whatever, and it's a hilarious film. I've seen it for the first time, and I'm looking forward to rewatch it someday. It's a good film. It came out in the same year with Dawn of the Dead remake after it. So it's a good. So you probably should see this movie anytime. So at number 6 we have another monster mash, which is Monster Squad. And Monster Squad is a crossover film about the 80s kids who they encounter Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and the Gillman. Not all of them, but it's a good film. It's a really good film. It's my least favorite, but I don't hate it. I've always wanted a big crossover of Universal monsters in the 50s after Creature from the Black Lagoon, which he should be in the team, and before Bela Lugosi's death. I've always wanted a crossover of Universal monsters in the 50s. All right. At number 5 we have Coraline, and Coraline is another claymation film, and it's widely considered as one of the scariest animated films of all time. And to be honest, The Other Mother was pretty scary, but the button eyes doesn't scare me. It doesn't. So at number 4 we have Trick or Treat. Now Trick or Treat is a perfect Halloween film. It screams more Halloween than the 70s Halloween. So it's one of the best. It's one of the most underrated horror films ever in the 2000s, and it's so good. Who can forget about the little bastard we love known as Sam from the little guy, the little kid who has a sack over his head named Sam. Yeah, who can forget about him? I love him so much. I love that kid so much. So at number 3 we have Nightmare Before Christmas. So Nightmare Before Christmas shouldn't be talked about much because it's way too perfect of a film. It's both a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie all together. So about the cast, rest in peace to Ken Page, who was the voice actor of Oogie Boogie, who passed away recently almost the last month. He passed away he died in September 30, which is really sad. So aside from that, Danny Elfman did a fantastic job doing the singing voice of Jack Skellington, and not many people know Catherine O'Hara is in this film, and she's the actress who played Kevin's mom in from Home Alone, the first 2 Home Alone movies. Talk about a nightmare after Christmas, am I right? All right, so at number 2 we have Beetlejuice. For the record, I have not seen the sequel, Beetlejuice, but I heard it was mix of good and okay. It has Michael Keaton reprise his role back as Beetlejuice, which is nice, and that's a big plus there. And the first movie was considered one of the best Halloween classic films ever. And it shouldn't be talked about just as much as Nightmare Before Christmas. It's really good, so it should definitely be checked out. So at number 1, best movie to watch on Halloween are Universal Monsters. Now, why Universal Monster movies? Why I say 1931's Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy and Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I know it's not considered a Universal monster film, but I consider the character Mr. Hyde as a Universal monster to me. It's just my opinion. And the Invisible Man and the Wolf Man and Phantom of the Opera, I think, and Phantom of the Opera, if I said earlier, and the Creature from Black Lagoon. So these have been now the Universal monsters have been considered icons of Halloween. They inspired horror and Halloween all together, and they made Halloween a big because they have became the most common costumes that you see people wear all the time. Like people dressing up as vampires and Frankenstein's monsters and the mummies and werewolves and uh, sea monsters such as gillmen. So, it's why I consider them the number one because they're really good movies and I love them so much. Anyways, I'm really tired. This video is really struggled to upload, so I'll see you guys next time. Happy Halloween.